Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the podcast where we challenge those romantic versions of history you often see. Our mission is to uncover the surprising, sometimes pretty challenging, realities of different times and places. To show you that history, it's a living story. And honestly, it's often way different than we imagine. Today, we're going on a journey, really, through three very distinct historical landscapes. Each one, I think, offers some incredible insights. Get ready for some moments that might just reframe how you see the past.
Yeah, and we're not just skimming the surface here. We'll dig into the big picture, but also those fascinating little details, connecting the dots to understand not just what happened, but why it actually matters, even today.
Okay, let's dive right in. First up, medieval Europe. We're calling this bit, You Wouldn't Last a Day in Medieval Times. And forget the Hollywood stuff, the knights in shining armor, the chivalry, those candlelit feasts. We are plunging straight into the raw, unvarnished reality of daily life. Let's say around 1325. Okay, picture waking up, your bed. It's a straw mattress, probably damp, definitely buggy, and it smells, well, like a barn floor.
No memory foam here.
Definitely not. Just a rough wool blanket, probably stiff with grime, and your alarm clock is a loud church bell clanging somewhere.
Not exactly gentle.
Not at all. And your home, a single room, wooden hut, no windows, you're sharing it with your family, maybe some livestock, and definitely insects.
And the smell.
Oh, the smell, the fragrant symphony, right. Stale beer, human sweat, maybe a goat, possibly some mold, freezing air hits you, your joints already ache. Being 22 is practically middle-aged.
Yeah, you'd have a creaking spine, knees like a bag of rocks already.
Exactly. The floor is either wet dirt or just crusty dirt. And privacy. Forget about it. Everything's communal. Okay, so you've survived waking up. What's next? Nature calls. And it's not polite. There's no toilet as we know it, no seat, no paper, no flush. If you're a peasant, your bathroom is probably just a wooden bucket out back.
Likely already full.
Probably. And when you're done, you toss the content straight into the street. Maybe you shout, "Gardez-vous," that's Old French for watch out below.
But people probably didn't move fast enough.
I doubt it. The streets were basically open sewers. If you were in a town with public latrines, maybe slightly better. But you're sitting shoulder to shoulder with strangers, no privacy, no ventilation.
And wiping.
Wiping.
Yeah.
A good question. Straw, leaves, rags, maybe some moss. If you're lucky, a scrap of wool. Sometimes just nothing.
Grim.
Even castles weren't much cleaner. Their guardrobes just emptied straight into the moat. Apparently, attackers sometimes use that as an entry point.
Climbing through, yeah, okay, that's an image.
Right. So you've managed the morning rituals. Time for breakfast. Something nice and warm.
Can we guess? Nope.
Nope. Breakfast is, pretty grim. Forget eggs Benedict or avocado toast. You're probably squatting by the fire with a wooden bowl of pottage.
Ah, the daily pottage.
That's the one. A thick, gloopy stew. It might have been simmering for days, maybe weeks. They just kept dumping new stuff on top of the old.
Yeah.
And on the side, a chunk of bread so hard you could probably knock someone out with it, made from coarse rye or barley, maybe bulked up with sawdust or ground acorns.
Just to fill you up.
Exactly. And to drink, weak ale or small beer, even for the kids.
Because the water was dangerous, right?
Teeming with parasites and filth.
Yeah.
Brewing boiled the water so the beer was actually safer. Wine, maybe, if you were rich.
And fancy food. Meat. Cheese.
That was for Sundays or feast days, and only if the Lord was feeling generous. Most peasants probably ate meat just a few times a year. Fresh fruit only in season. Spices, forget it. Royalty only. A pinch of pepper could cost more than your monthly wages. Salt was so valuable, they literally locked it away.
That detail about salt being locked away really underlines the precarity of their existence. It wasn't just about the physical hardship of being constantly underfed, but about the very tools for survival being controlled and scarce. This shaped their entire social contract with their lords, where basic sustenance was a privilege, not a right. It highlights the sheer ingenuity born out of necessity, but also just how fragile life was.
So you're underfed, time to get dressed. Not that it helps much. Your entire wardrobe is probably one outfit.
One rough wool tunic or maybe a linen shift.
Worn for months,
Yeah.
years, until it basically falls apart or gives you a fungal infection. Underwear, optional.
And no washing machine, no soap.
No dry cleaner. Your clothes are stained, stiff, probably smell like a compost pile. Even washing them is a huge chore, hauling water, heating it, scrubbing with ashes in a leaky tub.
And shoes.
If you have them, they're untreated leather, no arch support. Most peasants probably just went barefoot. Through mud, dung, sharp rocks, puddles full of who knows what disease.
which leads to skin issues, I imagine.
Constant itching, fleas, lice, bed bugs. Everyone had them, even nobles. Your skin's raw. Your scalp is just a battlefield of bites. No dermatologists, no creams for rashes or scabies. You just itch.
Yeah.
And while we're on personal grooming, let's talk teeth, or lack thereof.
Oh, boy.
No toothbrushes, no toothpaste, no mouthwash, no floss. Maybe you chew on a twig, rinse with wine or vinegar if you have it.
So cavities must have been rampant.
Rampant. Swollen gums, decay. Sugar was rare, but the rich who had it often had terrible teeth, rot faster. Toothaches were constant.
And treatment.
The barber surgeon, same guy who cuts your hair, pulls teeth with iron hooks. Zero anesthesia.
Ow.
An infected tooth could easily kill you through sepsis. Bad breath was just the norm. No one judged your smile. Your mouth was a war zone.
Just layer upon layer of discomfort and danger.
Totally. So, aching teeth, itchy skin, rumbling stomach. Time for work.
Right.
Your real job. The one that will break your back.
No cozy office.
No desk, no coffee break, zero chance of promotion. If you're like 90% of the population, you're a peasant. Your job is basically don't die while working someone else's land.
Land belonging to a lord who probably doesn't even know your name.
Exactly. You work from sunrise to sunset 6 days a week. Sundays off, maybe, unless it's harvest time or there are raiders.
And the work itself, brutal.
Brutal. Plowing by hand, or maybe with an ox if you're lucky. Digging ditches, sowing seeds, pulling weeds, carrying water until your spine feels like it's permanently curved. No sip days.
It's the constant, unyielding nature of it. Imagine the repetitive strain. Your spine literally starts to curve from the years of stooping and heavy lifting. There's no ergonomic design here, no days off for strain. It's truly labor until your body simply gives out.
And for women, it's all that field work, plus childcare, cooking, cleaning, spinning wool, feeding animals.
Right, and kids started helping super young, around age 5. No school, no toys, just work.
Even the other trades, blacksmith, tanner, cooper, involved fire, dangerous chemicals, animal guts, usually in poorly ventilated sheds. The pay was just enough to survive.
Basically survival wages.
And then there's the weather. It's not just seasons. It's like ongoing punishment from the sky.
No escaping it.
Winter, no insulation, no central heating, just wooden walls with gaps, windows covered with cloth, maybe, not glass.
Firewood must have been crucial.
Crucial and expensive. And
Right.
gathering it yourself from the Lord's forest, illegal, could get you executed. You'd huddle near a tiny fire and still wake up freezing. Feet constantly cold, often damp. Frostbite wasn't really diagnosed, it was just bad luck.
And summer.
Your hut turns into an oven, no fan, no AC, definitely no deodorant. You're sweating through your single layer of itchy wool, but you can't really take it off.
Sunburn, insect bites.
All the time. Out in the fields, the sun just bakes you. No sunblock. Heat stroke was just called taking a bad turn. Your clothes still itch. The food's so terrible.
This constant discomfort and peril really does raise an important question about human resilience, doesn't it? How did people cope?
It's incredible they did. Okay, so you're hot or cold or itchy, feeling thirsty, maybe you want to wash your face.
Let me guess. Water's still the enemy.
Pretty much. Water isn't your friend. It's often trying to kill you quietly. That nearby stream might look clear, but who knows what's upstream? Chamber pots emptied, dead animals.
Parasites, bacteria.
Exactly, which is why people drink beer, even kids. Brewing boiled the water, making it safer. Wine, if you were rich.
And bathing.
Widely believed to be dangerous. People thought it opened your pores and let disease in.
Wow. So they actively avoided it.
Many did. Communal bathhouses existed for a time, but the church often shut them down, thinking they encouraged immorality. Plus, bathing was a huge effort. Fetch water, boil it, fill a leaky wooden tub, maybe collect rainwater, but that sat in open barrels collecting stuff.
So water, whether you drank it or washed in it, was basically a gamble.
A constant gamble. Now, let's say despite all this, you get sick. You need a doctor.
Which in the Middle Ages means.
Polite torture with a theology degree, basically. Their medical theory was all about the 4 humors being out of balance. Blood, phlegm, yellow bile, black bile.
Right to your humoral theory.
Got a fever? Clearly too much blood. The answer? Bloodletting. They'd use a dull blade or leeches to drain your blood into a bowl.
Which probably just made you weaker.
Of course. Feeling sad or anxious, that's too much black bile. The cure? Laxatives. Maybe a cold compress.
Logical.
If you break a bone or get a serious wound, you're in real trouble. No anesthesia. Surgery, if you can call it that, used unclean knives. Tools might be heated over a fire, but mostly just to look scary, not for sterilization.
No antibiotics, no germ theory.
Nope. Disease came from bad air, miasma, or because God was annoyed with you. Got a stomach ache, must be sinful thoughts. Treatment might involve more leeches, maybe some crushed beetles, and definitely a priest giving last rites.
It sounds like medieval medicine created a deep fatalism and a stronger reliance on divine intervention. Illness wasn't just physical. It was often seen as a moral failing or God's will.
Totally. And recovery, if it happened, was credited to God, not the treatment.
And ironically, the very treatment sometimes sped up the demise. It really highlights the fundamental difference in worldviews from ours.
So after a long day of labor, lice, maybe avoiding leeches, it's finally dinner time. You drag yourself back to your hut, stomach growling. Surely a warm meal is some comfort.
I have a bad feeling about this meal.
You should. Your meal is probably also trying to kill you. Food preservation barely existed. No fridge, no freezer, just salt, smoke, or hoping the winter air kept things from rotting too fast.
So meat would be questionable?
Very. Hanging for days, covered in flies, maybe shared with rats. And bread, the staple. Not always safe either.
Yeah.
In bad harvest years, they'd bulk it up with bark, sawdust, even clay.
Clay, wow.
And if it was rye bread, you might get a side of ergot fungus. Causes convulsions, hallucinations, sometimes death. St. Anthony's fire, they called it.
What about vegetables?
Only when in season. And you know what's always in season?
What do we guess? Turnips.
So, many. Turnips. Dairy was another gamble. Milk spoiled fast. Butter and cheese were often full of bacteria. Most meals probably just tasted like, I don't know, wet burlap sprinkled with sadness.
Sounds appealing.
And food wasn't just a health hazard, it was political. Game animals, deer, boar, even rabbits belonged to the Lord. If you got caught poaching,
Big trouble.
fines, imprisonment, maybe even execution for a rabbit. So as you sit down to your gray stew by the flickering firelight, remember, every single bite is a risk.
It paints a picture of constant anxiety around the most basic necessity.
Absolutely. Okay, it's evening. You've worked, suffered, barely digested your dodgy stew. Time to relax.
Probably not.
Not a chance, because God is watching, and so is the priest, and probably your nosy neighbor Agnes, who will definitely report you if you miss Mass.
Religion wasn't just part of life, it was life.
Exactly. The church controlled everything. The calendar, laws, education, if you got any, birth, marriage, death. Your day was structured by prayer bells.
And sin was everywhere.
Missing prayer. Sin. Eating meat on Friday. Sin. Impure thoughts. Double sin. And hell. It was real, vividly described. Fire, brimstone, demons, eternal screaming.
And you couldn't just read the Bible for yourself.
Nope, it was in Latin.
Yeah.
You relied entirely on the church's interpretation. Plus, mandatory tithes, a tenth of everything you earned or grew. Holidays were holy days, maybe a break from work, but mainly for Mass, fasting, confessing.
Questioning any of this was dangerous.
Extremely. Heretics were burned, witches drowned, blasphemers flogged. So you prayed, you chanted, you hoped your soul might eventually make it to paradise.
A very controlling environment.
Totally. Now, if you thought being a medieval peasant was tough, try being a medieval peasant woman.
Hard mode engaged.
Hard mode with no health potions. Basically, all the filth, famine, and fear, plus childbirth, being totally subservient and largely invisible socially.
Your life path was pretty much set from birth.
Locked in. Marry young, like really young. Betrothed at 12, pregnant by 14 wasn't unusual. And it wasn't about love. It was about land, livestock, alliances. Your opinion, not needed.
And once married.
You were basically your husband's property. Your job, produce heirs, preferably sons, feed everyone, keep the hut tidy, and definitely don't complain. Complaining could get you branded a nag, or worse, a witch.
Childbirth must have been terrifying.
A death lottery. No prenatal care, no sterile tools, no anesthesia. Midwives did their best, bless them, but even minor complications could kill the mother, the child, or both. Many women just didn't survive multiple pregnancies.
What about unmarried women?
Viewed with suspicion. Widowed women were vulnerable. Outspoken women. Dangerous. Any woman who didn't fit the mold, especially if she knew about herbs or had a strong personality, risked being accused of witchcraft. Even the church offered limited roles, mostly as nuns.
A very constrained existence.
Extremely. Okay, you've battled filth, starvation, social injustice, maybe a goat. Just when you think your day can't get worse. Here comes violence.
Loud, bloody, and common.
And often completely acceptable by medieval standards. Let's be clear. The Middle Ages were not peaceful. Law and order mostly meant hoping the local lord wasn't mad at you today.
Violence was just baked into the system.
In the home, in the streets, on the battlefield, even in church disputes. Crime was common, punishment was brutal, and justice. More like performance art.
Examples.
Steal bread, lose a hand, lie, get your tongue pierced, gossip too much. You might wear the scold's bridle, a horrible metal cage for your head.
And proving innocence.
Trial by ordeal. Stick your hand in boiling water. If it heals cleanly in 3 days, unlikely you're innocent. Or get tossed in a river sink and you're innocent but dead. Float and you're guilty and punished anyway.
A lose-lose situation.
Pretty much. And executions, public entertainment, hangings, beheadings, burnings at the stake. Crowds would gather, cheer, maybe buy snacks.
Cheerful. What about daily life violence?
Domestic violence was completely normal. Husbands were allowed, even expected, to discipline wives and children. Street fights were common. Get beaten for looking sideways at a noble's horse? Sure. Plus the constant background threat of war, local feuds, crusades, raids. Violence wasn't a breakdown of the society. It was society.
The broader significance here is how profoundly fragile life was, how arbitrary justice could be, and how deeply ingrained violence was in the social fabric. It challenges our modern sensibilities and forces us to confront how different fundamental assumptions about safety and order were during this time. It's a stark contrast.
Absolutely. So you've somehow made it through the lice, the bad food, the threat of random violence. Now comes the final chapter for most medieval lives, an early, unglamorous death.
Life expectancy wasn't great.
If you made it past 40, you were practically ancient. The average was around 30 to 40, but that number is skewed low by incredibly high infant mortality. Nearly half of all kids died before age 5.
Disease, malnutrition, a bad winter.
That's all it took. No vaccines, no antibiotics. If you survived childhood, you hit adulthood already worn out. Work started basically as soon as you could walk. By 25, your joints creaked, you were probably missing teeth, maybe a finger.
And causes of death varied.
For women, childbirth was a leading killer. For men, farming accidents, infections from small cuts, getting knifed in a drunken brawl, dying on a crusade, bandits, maybe even angry tax collectors. Plague wiped out huge numbers. Famine starved villages. Spoiled grain killed people.
In funerals.
Often quick and simple, buried fast to avoid spreading disease. No embalming, no fancy coffins, just a hole in the ground, maybe a few prayers, a shallow mound of earth. No retirement plan, you just stopped showing up one day. So yeah, medieval life. Brutal, short, constantly under siege by death. You woke up in filth, went to the toilet in a bucket, brushed your teeth with a prayer, worked till you dropped, scratched constantly, prayed not to get plague, and hoped you wouldn't get executed for looking at a squirrel the wrong way.
Yet somehow people endured.
They did. They laughed, sang, told stories, fell in love, found meaning. Not because life was easy, but because humans are stubborn like that. Even in the darkest times, they found light. It really puts our modern lives, clean beds, plumbing, antibiotics, heating, into incredible perspective.
A world away.
Completely. Okay. Let's shift gears dramatically. From the grit of peasant life, let's soar to the absolute heights of power. But, as we'll see with Catherine the Great, even being royalty didn't mean life was easy.
Especially not for her, starting out.
Exactly. Long before she was Catherine the Great, Empress of Russia, she was just Sophie. Sophie Federica Augusta von Anhalt-Zerbst, born in 1729. Daughter of a minor German prince.
Not exactly destined for greatness on paper.
Not at all. Strict upbringing. Cold, calculating mother, obsessed with status, distant father. Sophie learned young how to be obedient but also cunning. She read constantly, learned languages, learned how to read a room.
Skills, though, have become crucial.
Absolutely. She even got smallpox, which scarred her but maybe hardened her resolve too.
One remarkable insight here is how Sophie's early intelligence and ambition were not just personal traits, but crucial skills for survival. In a world where her position was so precarious, her ability to learn, adapt, and strategically observe laid the groundwork for everything she would later achieve. It was almost a political apprenticeship from childhood.
Then, at just 14, she gets the summons. Empress Elizabeth of Russia wants her to come marry her heir, Grand Duke Peter.
Elizabeth wanted someone pliable, grateful, foreign.
Right. So Sophie goes. She converts to Russian Orthodoxy, takes the name Ekaterina Catherine. It's a huge step. Burns her bridges, really. Steps into this massive foreign empire.
And the marriage. Not a fairy tale.
Anything but. It was more like a cage. Peter was difficult, immature, awkward, obsessed with playing with toy soldiers. He actually resented Russia, preferred Prussia.
And apparently wasn't too interested in Catherine initially.
Reports say he refused to consummate the marriage for years. While he played war games, Catherine threw herself into becoming Russian. Learned the language, history, rituals she needed to survive.
Because the Russian court was notoriously dangerous.
A viper's nest? Gossip, paranoia, power games. Catherine was watched constantly, letters read, friendships monitored. She couldn't trust Peter, her own mother, who came with her for a while, or the servants.
Stepping back a bit, Catherine's quiet cultivation of allies among military officers and scholars, and her developing reputation for dignity and restraint, was a masterclass in strategic maneuvering. It stood in stark contrast to Peter's childish tantrums and openly hostile behavior towards Russia, and it positioned her perfectly for what was to come. She was playing a long game, and she understood the importance of optics and influence within the court. She was building her power base quietly.
And reading. She started reading Enlightenment thinkers like Voltaire, Montesquieu, building this vision for Russia based on strength, education, reason.
Preparing herself.
Exactly. Then, 1762, after almost 20 years of this delicate balancing act, her moment arrives. Empress Elizabeth dies. Peter becomes Tsar Peter III.
And he immediately messes up.
Big time. Alienates the church, the nobles, the army. Makes peace with Prussia, Russia's enemy. Talks openly about divorcing Catherine to marry his mistress. He basically handed her the opportunity.
So Catherine strikes.
With incredible speed and precision. Supported by military officers, especially her lover, Gregory Orlov, and his brothers, she launches a coup, rides through St. Petersburg in uniform, gets proclaimed Empress Catherine II by the Imperial Guard.
And Peter.
Caught completely off guard, no support. He surrenders within days. Taken into custody, and then found dead shortly after.
Officially.
Officially, hemorrhoidal colic. Unofficially, almost certainly murdered. Catherine was now empress, not by birth, not by marriage, but by sheer will and audacity.
An incredible gamble that paid off.
Hugely. But once she had the crown, she knew keeping it meant ruling as a visionary, not just an intriguer. She needed to transform Russia.
And the Enlightenment was her inspiration.
Absolutely. She idolized Voltaire, corresponded with him for 15 years, bought Diderot's library when he needed money, even paid him a salary to be its librarian in Paris.
She wanted Russia to be seen as modern European.
Exactly. She started huge legal reforms, formed a legislative commission in 1767 to rewrite Russia's laws. Her own instruction, the nakaz, talked about equality before the law, dangers of torture, the ruler's duty to the common good, radical stuff for 18th century Russia.
But how much actually changed?
That's the key question. She did abolish some torture, expanded secular education, built schools, libraries, but she also needed the nobility's support, so she reaffirmed their control over the serfs.
The great contradiction of her reign.
It was a constant balancing act. Enlightenment ideals versus the practical reality of ruling a vast feudal empire.
That's a fascinating nuance.
Yeah.
While pragmatism was key, there's a strong argument she genuinely saw herself as an enlightened despot, believing that these compromises were necessary steps on a long road to reform, or even that Russia wasn't ready for full enlightenment. It wasn't simple hypocrisy.
Right, maybe she felt she had to choose.
She understood the vastness and deeply feudal nature of Russia meant radical change could easily lead to chaos, as we'll see with Pugachev. She had to tread carefully.
And while reforming internally, she was also pushing Russia's borders outward, massively.
Imperial expansion was a huge part of her reign.
Waged wars constantly, big ones against the Ottoman Empire in the 1760s and 70s. She framed it as liberating Orthodox Christians, protecting Eastern Europe.
But really about gaining territory and influence.
And warm water ports. Russia finally captured Crimea, the northern Black Sea coast. Huge strategic wins. It sent a message. Russia is a major European power now.
And then there's Poland.
Poland. Catherine participated with Austria and Prussia in carving it up, 3 partitions, and by 1795, Poland was literally erased from the map. Russia got huge chunks of land, millions of new subjects.
A ruthless move.
Definitely. But she also colonized, built new cities, expanded trade, invited German settlers to farm the new lands. The empire became this vast mosaic.
She reshaped Russia's place in the world.
Completely. But while she projected this image of power and enlightenment, her private life was, well, a source of endless fascination and scandal.
Her lovers.
Yes, not just 1 or 2. A whole parade of them, often much younger, usually handsome, sometimes politically influential. She didn't hide them. She often showered them with titles, estates, money.
Gregory Potemkin being the most famous.
Absolutely. Potemkin was more than just a lover. He was practically her co-ruler for a time. Brilliant, ambitious. Their relationship was incredibly complex. Some think they might have secretly married.
But Europe was obsessed with the scandal.
Totally fixated. Satirical pamphlets painted her as this lustful, insatiable empress. After she died, the rumors got even wilder, like that completely false, disgusting story about the horse spread by her enemies.
Why such obsession? Was it just because she was a powerful woman?
Largely, yes. She wielded power unapologetically in a man's world. She refused to fit the mold of the saintly queen or the tragic victim. She lived and loved on her own terms. That was threatening.
And she saw these relationships strategically too, didn't she?
Often, yes. She separated emotion from governance. Her lovers were often capable men who became loyal allies. It wasn't just about romance, it was often about consolidating power, too.
Smart. But even her control had limits. The Pugachev rebellion showed that.
Right. Just as Catherine seemed at the height of her power, this massive threat emerged from within Russia itself. 1773. A Cossack named Yemelyan Pugachev pops up.
Claiming to be Peter III, her dead husband.
Exactly. Claiming he'd survived the coup and was back to take the throne from the German usurper. It was absurd. Peter was long dead.
But people were desperate.
Desperate. Pugachev promised an end to serfdom, lower taxes, land. His message caught fire among Cossacks, peasants, old believers, especially along the Volga River.
It became the largest peasant uprising in Russian history.
Huge. Terrifying for Catherine. Towns fell, nobles were massacred. It looked like the empire might actually break apart. This wasn't a foreign enemy, this was her own people rising up.
How did she react?
Not with panic, but with force. She sent the professional army, crushed the rebellion ruthlessly. Pugachev was defeated, captured, paraded in an iron cage, then beheaded in Moscow. A brutal warning.
And this changed her.
It seems so. The dream of freeing the serfs. That quietly died. The rebellion showed her the dangers of radical change in Russia. She leaned harder on the nobility after that, prioritizing stability over Enlightenment philosophy. Surveillance increased. It was a real turning point.
What truly stands out here is the duality of Catherine's reign, transforming from an enlightened reformer into a pragmatic autocrat. It's a clear illustration of how a ruler's ideals are constantly tested by the stark realities of governing a vast, complex, and often rebellious empire.
Yeah.
The Pugachev rebellion forced her to make a critical choice between philosophical ideals and practical power.
Absolutely. So by the end of her reign over 3 decades, the longest female ruler in Russian history, what was her legacy?
Immense, both geographically and culturally.
Territorially, Russia was huge. Expanded by over 200,000 square miles. Crimea, parts of Poland, that Black Sea coast, those warm water ports were massive.
And culturally.
She put Russia firmly on the European cultural map, founded the Hermitage Museum, amassed incredible art, corresponded with Enlightenment thinkers, modernized education, promoted book printing, even championed smallpox inoculation, getting vaccinated herself, which was incredibly brave then.
But the contradictions remained.
Big time. Admired the Enlightenment, but never freed the serfs. In fact, serfdom expanded under her rule. Reforms were impressive, but mostly top-down. Polishing the empire, maybe, not rebuilding its foundations.
Still an incredibly effective ruler.
Undeniably. She ruled by force of will, political genius, relentless calculation, not flawless, but effective. When she died in 1796, Russia was bigger, wealthier, more powerful than ever before.
She wasn't just an empress, she became a myth.
A woman who took power and used it on her own terms, reshaping a man's world. An enduring, complex figure. Okay, let's make another huge shift. From the gilded palaces of Imperial Russia, we're going deep into the humid, silent jungles of Mexico to unravel an ancient mystery. The Red Queen of Palenque.
Palenque, the Maya ruins in Chiapas.
Exactly. Back in 1994, archaeologists led by Fanny Lopez Jimenez were doing routine survey work near the famous Temple of the Inscriptions. That's where the great King Pakal is buried. They were looking at a smaller pyramid nearby, Temple 3.
Not expecting much, probably.
Right. Until they found something hidden, a sealed chamber deep inside, untouched for centuries. No looters had ever found it.
Incredible luck.
They broke through, lowered themselves down. Inside, a stone sarcophagus, the air heavy still. When they lifted the lid, this brilliant, shocking red dust rose up like smoke.
Cinnabar.
Exactly. Powdered cinnabar covered everything, and inside lay the skeleton of a woman, buried with obvious care, reverence, fragile bones, but wearing a jade mask, surrounded by offerings, jade necklaces, diadems, shell ear spools, clearly royalty.
One of the richest female burials ever found in Mesoamerica.
But here's the mystery. No name, no inscriptions, no glyphs identifying her. She lived around the 7th century AD, Palenque's golden age. Why was she hidden away like this, unnamed? Her burial felt deliberate, spiritual.
It's truly remarkable how unique this discovery was. Finding a major royal tomb undisturbed is incredibly rare, offering a pristine glimpse into Maya burial practices and their profound spiritual beliefs without the distortion of looting. It's like a time capsule from an entire civilization, a direct window.
And that red dust, the cinnabar, it wasn't just a little sprinkle, it was thick. Covered the sarcophagus, the walls, her bones, the offerings. Clung like blood, they said.
Cinnabar was highly sacred to the Maya. Toxic mercury sulfide, but incredibly symbolic.
The vibrant red color represented blood, rebirth, life force, connecting the human and divine. The color of sunrise, sacrifice, life coming from death.
So covering her body in it wasn't just preservation.
It was transformation, preparing her for the journey to the afterlife, maybe even for deification. The Maya probably didn't understand the chemistry, the toxicity, but they felt its power. To bathe a corpse in it meant this was no ordinary mortal.
And Pakal the Great was also buried with cinnabar.
Exactly, that's one of the key links. Very few burials in Palenque used it so heavily, just Pakal in her. Plus, around her body were other objects, a skull resting on what might have been jaguar skin, bone needles, obsidian blades, tiny jade figures.
Ritual items.
Hinting at rituals performed for her, or perhaps by her in life. Telling a story of power, but wrapped in secrecy.
Absolutely. These weren't just random objects. The bone needles and obsidian blades hint at auto-sacrifice rituals, which were central to Maya elite spiritual practices. This suggests she was not just royal, but likely a high-status priestess, someone who performed important ceremonial rites during her lifetime, empowering her spirit for the transition into Xibalba, the underworld. Every item served a purpose in that spiritual journey.
And the other offerings were just stunning. Jade everywhere. Necklaces, the mask.
Jade was incredibly sacred, symbolizing eternal life, the green of maize, the jungle's vitality, the breath of the gods. Only the absolute elite got buried with jade.
The amount she had covering her chest, wrists, ears clearly showed her immense status. And that mask placed over her face.
Made of tiny mosaic tiles, mimicking her features.
Yes, not like a gold death mask, much more subtle. Its purpose was ritual. Protect the soul, preserve her identity so the gods would recognize her in the afterlife. The face was the mirror of the soul for the Maya.
And the ceramic vessels.
Sealed. Probably held food, drink like chocolate or maize water, maybe incense. Things to sustain her spirit on that dangerous journey through Xibalba, the underworld. These weren't luxuries. They were considered necessities for the trip.
Every object had profound spiritual weight. It shows how the Maya viewed death not as an end, but as a transition, a preparation for ascent.
But the biggest question remains, who was she? No name on the tomb, nothing.
A total enigma. Clearly powerful, but anonymous.
The leading theory, the most compelling one, is that she was Sakbu Ajah, sometimes written Zakuk Aho. She was the wife of Pakal the Great.
Pakal's queen.
Exactly. She came from nobility, married Pakal young, bore him sons who became important figures. She played a significant ceremonial role during his long reign. If anyone deserved such a burial...
It would be her. What's the evidence?
Location, location, location. Her tomb in Temple 3 is right next door to Pakal's massive Temple of the Inscriptions. That proximity feels deliberate, like a husband and wife buried side by side, rulers even in death.
And the cinnabar connection.
Right. Only Pakal and the Red Queen got that intense cinnabar treatment in Palenque. Seems unlikely to be a coincidence.
Did DNA testing help?
They tried, but the results were inconclusive. They couldn't find a direct maternal link between her and Pakal's lineage, but that doesn't rule out her being his wife. Their lines might have been distinct before marriage.
So it doesn't disprove the theory.
No. Other theories exist, of course. Maybe Pakal's powerful mother, Sakakuk, who ruled before him, or a high priestess, a sister, some unknown royal ancestor.
Or maybe the anonymity was intentional.
That's a fascinating thought, too. Maybe, in Maya belief, her soul lived on through the ritual, the symbols, the place itself, not needing a name carved in stone. So she remains, suspended between legend and truth. Likely Pakal's queen, but forever the mysterious Red Queen.
And her existence tells us a lot about the role of royal women in Maya society.
Absolutely. We often get this picture of male rulers, but Maya women, especially royal ones, wielded significant influence. They weren't just wives, they were diplomats, priestesses, power brokers.
Their bloodlines were crucial for alliances and legitimacy.
Definitely. Take Pakal's mother, Sakakuk. When the throne was vacant, she ruled as queen regent until Pakal was old enough. She issued decrees, oversaw building projects. She wasn't just keeping the seat warm.
And this wasn't unique to Palenque.
Not at all. Across the Maya world, places like Yaxchilan, Naranjo, Calakmul inscriptions show women leading ceremonies involved in warfare, diplomacy, sometimes even ruling outright as queens. They're depicted in carvings, sometimes as equals or even superior to kings.
So the later Spanish view of passive native women was wrong.
Completely skewed by the colonial lens. Archaeology reveals much more complex gender roles where power was negotiated. The Red Queen's burial fits this perfectly. Nameless, maybe, but her tomb screams importance. A central pillar of the royal order.
A keeper of lineage, a voice in ceremony.
A bridge between gods and humans, perhaps. Nameless, but definitely not voiceless in her time.
This sheds light on whose stories get preserved and whose are lost, and how archaeology helps us reclaim them. The reemergence of figures like the Red Queen reminds us of the profound power and influence of women in the ancient Maya world, challenging our assumptions and proving that history is a living puzzle. She remains nameless but not voiceless, mysterious but not forgotten.
And the place she was buried, Temple 3. It's not just a building, it's architecture loaded with meaning.
Maya temples were cosmic models, weren't they?
Exactly. Even though Temple 3 is smaller than Pakal's Temple of the Inscriptions next door, its position is key. It's a statement in stone. Inside, that sealed crypt, hidden deep, reached by a steep, narrow staircase.
Like a journey down into the underworld, Zabalba.
Precisely. The chamber itself is stark, undecorated stone. No murals, no glyphs telling her story. Maybe that silence was intentional, a space for transformation, not for human eyes.
And the sarcophagus itself.
Limestone, echoing Pakal's grand coffin. But while Pakal's lid has that famous carving of cosmic rebirth, hers is plain. The focus seems more inward on the body, the cinnabar, the ritual.
Are there other clues in the architecture?
Subtle ones. The tomb aligns east to west, mirroring the sun's journey from life to death. The whole space feels small but incredibly powerful, deliberate, personal. Being buried inside a temple pyramid wasn't just burial, it was elevation, connecting the deceased to the sacred realms. Her tomb was a shrine.
A carefully constructed gateway.
Exactly. And understanding that helps us understand Maya burial rituals more broadly. Death wasn't an end. It was crossing a threshold into Xibalba.
The Maya underworld.
No.
Not exactly paradise, right?
No, a treacherous place. Layers of darkness, rivers of blood, trials by death gods. You needed to be prepared.
Which is where the burial rituals come in.
Everything, the cinnabar, the stone tomb, the offerings, was meant to equip the soul for that journey. Those bone needles and obsidian blades, maybe tools representing otter sacrifice rituals needed to empower the spirit.
The jade mask to preserve identity for the gods.
The food and drink in the vessels for sustenance, maybe stingray spines or shell trumpets as spiritual communication tools. It was all about ensuring a successful passage.
And ultimately, rebirth.
That was the goal. Death is a seed, burial is planting, the afterlife is rebirth. Kings and queens were seen as divine embodiments returning to their origins. The Red Queen, covered in sacred red, entombed in a cosmic mountain, was being prepared for rebirth into the sacred order of the cosmos. Her burial wasn't an ending, it was the start of her transformation.
A transformation intrinsically linked to Pakal's.
That seems undeniable. Her tomb is just steps from his iconic one. That proximity has to be intentional.
The similarities are striking too. Cinnabar, jade, the reverence.
It's like they mirror each other. Two halves of a sacred story. Pakal's tomb depicts his journey through the underworld tree to be reborn. Hers is quieter, but maybe represents the feminine principle, the moon to his sun.
The cosmic duality. The masculine-feminine king-queen, sun-moon, order ritual. Rulership was relational.
Exactly. Maybe burying them together preserved not just their marriage, but that essential cosmic partnership. Their closeness in death reflecting their roles in life. A queen beside her king, sharing a legacy. It's one of history's most powerful, sacred silences.
Looking at the larger context here, her reemergence reminds us of the profound power and influence of women in the ancient Maya world, challenging our long-held assumptions and proving that history is a living puzzle. She remains nameless but not voiceless, mysterious but not forgotten. A truly fascinating figure.
Wow. We've covered some serious ground today. From the absolute grit and grind of medieval life, where just surviving the day was an achievement,
to the calculated ambition and world-changing reign of Catherine the Great.
and ending in the silent scarlet mystery of the Red Queen of Palenque, whose tomb whispers incredible secrets about a lost world. These deep dives, they really show that history isn't just dates and facts. It's about the stories, the hidden truths, the often surprising reality behind the myths.
Exactly.
Hopefully you feel a bit more informed now, seeing how different past lives truly were, and just how incredible human resilience can be, right?
Absolutely. It makes you appreciate modern life, but also marvel at how people endured.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it makes you wonder, what other historical figures or eras do you think are still waiting for us to peel back their romanticized layers and discover the truly surprising human truth beneath? There must be so many more stories like these.
That's a great question. History's full of them, just waiting to be re-examined.
And maybe think about this as you go about your day. What parts of our own normal lives today might seem utterly shocking or deeply mysterious or just plain weird to people centuries from now? What hidden truths are we living right now?
Hmm, that's a provocative thought to end on. What will future historians make of us?